are good for 6 months for VA, but a VA buyer, each VA buyer gets a new appraisal. So just because it's a VA for your listing doesn't mean that that VA appraisal stays for 6 months. Okay. Every veteran gets to order their own appraisal. So just wanted to give you a little.
So the administration doesn't keep it on record like FHA?
They do, because there's still a notification of value, but it's more tied to the veteran.
Okay.
The appraisal is tied to the veteran, whereas with FHA, the appraisal is tied to the property.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Anybody have a question on that?
So if you think of something, just let me know.
Anybody have a question on that? Does everybody understand that the VA property, the VA appraisal is tied to the veteran, not the property. So although they can still see that there has been an appraisal and perhaps at the wrong value, it may not affect like an FHA, which is not attached to the buyer, it's attached to the property. Everybody clear on that one?
And then also for VA, there is something they call Tidewater with VA. So if the VA appraiser is noticing, hey, this isn't looking so good, they're going to come back. They call it Tidewater, which basically means that they need your help to try to get this value up for VA. Now, that being said, when they call it an NOV, a notification of value, when that notification of value actually is done, that's when it gets tougher to fight it. You can always fight it if you believe that the value is not there, but chances are VA wants the best thing for the veteran. So they're not going to fight for your listing necessarily, right? Because they don't want their veteran to overpay for a house. So that's a little tougher, but Tidewater, if you can get the appraisal to come in higher before it's actually submitted, that's when.
Also on Tidewater, guys, I have seen them, and banks are very specific on how they want you to provide the comps. Sometimes they have specific forms you have to use. Sometimes there's a certain time frame is always key. You have to do it quickly. But yeah, when you get a Tidewater, just reach out right away because it is time of the essence for sure. Has anybody in the group had dealt with the Tidewater here?
On the VA appraisal, anything.
Nobody? Or can everybody hear us?
Wait,
Wave if you can hear me.
You have them all on mute.
Yeah, I am muted. You can't hear me?
Well, no, if they have questions, they're all muted.
Okay. I hope everybody can hear me, correct? Oh,
Raise
no,
your
audio
hand.
is bad. Uh-oh.
Yes, we can hear you.
Is audio better now?
You and Maria are echoing because you're kind of on the same.
So Maria, turn yours off for a second. I'd rather you come on to mine and then let's just. Okay, we're gonna. Is that better? Can you guys hear me? What was that?
Yes.
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, great.
Did they hear anything I said previously?
Did you guys hear what Maria was saying? That's kind of important.
Yes,
Yeah, we
did.
heard all that.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, because, honestly, guys, I have noticed it a lot in the offices. So when she brought it up, I thought, thank God it's not just us. All over in all my offices, these appraisals have been an issue. We're getting more homes that are not appraised. We just had one yesterday, an FHA home that was priced right. Well, it's not an FHA home, obviously. We have an FHA buyer on it. We're sell side. It was priced right. It came in 18,000 under. That's a tough one, guys. 18,000 is tough to, and a lot of times FHA does not want to dispute because to my understanding, they have to be allowed to be in that FHA pool of appraisers, right?
Yes, it has to be an FHA.
So if it's an FHA approved appraiser, these folks want to stay in that pool. Let's keep that in mind. So do they want to admit that they were wrong? That's, I think, a lot of times the problems that we have. So we actually had a situation, this is a crazy one, and this was just about right before Christmas, where we had an appraisal. It was okay, but the report was filled out incorrectly. So right before we had clear to close, we went back to the appraiser. We said, we just need you to put, they basically put the property number on incorrectly, transposed it or something. So we asked them to fix it. Well, there was 2 properties that were being sold. It was a house with a parcel and a parcel that was attached. Well, they only fixed one and not the other one. So we asked them to fix the other one. Well, this guy was not happy that we asked him to do any work, right? So it comes back. He fixed both the numbers and he changed the appraised value, about 50,000 less. Can you imagine? So, yeah.
He screwed up. He screwed up from the get-go. Is that it?
I think he was just trying to be a jerk because he didn't want to fix anything. And so now we can't close. 50 grand, the bank's not going to give the money on that. And we had cleared to close. So the worst thing is we have to remember that an appraisal is an art, not a science. And unfortunately, it's not only subjective, but we sometimes have to deal with the personalities of the appraiser. So be careful, sad to say, how we talk to the appraiser, and make sure that you're giving them every time that report up front with your best comps, with any kind of options that have been put in, anything that they've done to improve that home. Give it with each item broken out with the value of what each item things cost. We have to do everything we can to help build our value for our sellers. It's not good right now.
Don't leave it to chance. Yeah.
Don't leave it to the appraiser.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, any questions on that?
So FHA sticks with the house.
4 months
VA sticks with the buyer.
for 6 months. You got it. Right?
Yep.
Okay, what else
And
you
then,
want to share?
just some housekeeping New Year stuff. The FHA loan limit is now 356.
Woo,
So that's a lot
356.
better. And then there's some numbers after that too. 356.
Not that we deal in that space a lot, but that's good.
Yeah, and then, but for conforming, we're at 548, 250.
Wow, did you guys hear that? 548, 250. I'm gonna
So
put that in the chat.
really helps keep a lot of people out of the jumbo market. Although I did just lock a jumbo yesterday at 2.75.
Wow.
It was a super low loan to value. But needless to say, if you can stay out of the jumbo, there's just more hoops to jump through.
Right.
You know, it's just a little more cumbersome, but it's still out there. It's, you know, doing really well. But if you can stay in the conforming loan limits at 548, 250, it's
Great.
huge. Because I'm getting also, as far as appraisals, which is nice, about 50% of the time, if I have like a kind of a cookie cutter neighborhood, I'm getting appraisal waivers,
Oh,
which
my
means
God.
you don't have to order an appraisal at all. And so there's no
Amazing.
issues there. And so it saves the buyer, you know, $475, $450. So I'm getting that quite a bit. And then one other housekeeping item, because I forgot about it and it's a new year. I know I pledged to give money to Second Harvest Food Bank. And I completely forgot about it for all my closed loans. So I just made my donation this morning.
Thank
Carrie.
you.
So if you guys had a great year, if you want to do some charity, Second Harvest Food Bank still has a big need. And there's a lot of people out there struggling and trying to feed their kids. So if you didn't do that, because I forgot myself, go ahead and make your donation.
Thank you, Miss Maria, and we appreciate it, and I know everybody does, and it's true. There's a lot of people struggling out there.
Yeah,
So.
we have been blessed in our industry, and we are having great years, but not everybody is.
So true. All right, so anybody have any questions for Miss Maria while we have the expert in the house? Nobody.
Quiet.
Everybody knows everything about mortgages. It's amazing. I'm so excited. Just kidding. Just kidding. That's why we have Maria. We could call her anytime. She actually answers. Amazing. Okay. Terrific. Also, just to throw it out there, part of the Top Gun series, I wanted to add to my course selection. I wanted to add a class on mortgages.
Okay.
So anybody have a request? I kind of wanted to do the basics of each different type of mortgage, why one type of mortgage would be better for one type of buyer versus another. I think a lot of people don't really understand the nuances. And from the seller side, what are things that they have to think about when allowing a certain type of mortgage? Okay. The other thing I'd love you to just kind of briefly touch on is when people are doing some sort of portfolio loans, maybe buying with IRA, that nature. That is something we do see in the higher end, for sure.
I do have a question, and maybe it's for the class, but if I have a seller that needs to get a mortgage when they're currently in a mortgage, going from one to another, whether it's one house to another or like a bridge loan, with regards to that. So
you can do a bridge loan. You can definitely do a bridge loan. Sometimes it's not worth it. It just depends on, the timing of everything. Right. It's obviously a lot less stressful to do a bridge loan than trying to do sell to buy. Yeah.
Because sometimes things are getting a little, like if some of the situation like you talked about where they can't close at a certain time because appraisal didn't come in right where something got kicked back that really isn't, the issue of the seller turned new buyer.
Yeah, yeah. So the main thing to know about a bridge loan is essentially it's like a home equity line of credit.
Right.
So that's all it is. It's just they call it a bridge loan instead of a home equity line because they're going to charge you your closing costs up front because they know that it's a short-term loan. So they're going to charge you closing costs. The one thing to keep in mind on a bridge loan, just like your home equity lines of credit, you can't max it out. You're still going to be confined to about 80%. So it's not like if your client has $200,000, let's say it's $500,000 house. Let me keep it simple. $500,000 house, and they owe $300,000.
Got it.
So yeah, he has $200,000 of equity, but I can't give him
You don't
$200,000.
give him
I can
160.
give him 100. No, 100. Because 80% of a $500,000.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about the 200.
Is that right? Yeah. No, 300,000. I can't even do the math myself. So 100,000. So a 400,000 is all the loan I could give him.
Right.
And he owes 300. So I give him $100,000 bridge loan. He still has $100,000 equity. You can't, on a bridge loan, just something to keep in mind, you can't give him 100% of what he owes.
Oh,
That's not going to happen. So it's nice to know they're available, but it's really designed for those people that have a ton of equity or a house that's free and clear. Because just because you have 50 or 60,000 in equity doesn't mean I can pull 50 or 60,000 out prior to.
Thank you. That's awesome. One other question in regards to if you're doing now the conforming limits is so much higher. How does that work with the renovation loan? Is it you think the renovation loans will have more opportunity with because of that, or because the appraisals have been so difficult, the renovation loans may be getting harder?
I have not done a renovation loan in forever.
Oh, okay.
Let me just tell you why. Because if you're going to do a renovation loan, you've got your new contract on the house you want to buy, and then you've got this new kitchen and the new pool you want to put in. That takes time to get these contractors under contract.
Right.
So how many sellers want to wait for you to get your ducks in a row so that you can close in 60 or 90 days on your renovation?
Right.
It's great to have it, but in reality, it's not being utilized because how many sellers want to wait for your buyer to get his kitchen all squared away?
Right. Okay.
Right? So I haven't done one. I gotta say, it's nice to know it's there, but in reality, it's not being utilized because no one wants to wait.
Yeah.
The sellers.
Well, especially in this market we're in right now.
Yeah, it's too quick. Everything's happening too fast.
Anybody else have any questions or thoughts or anything that we can utilize wonderful Maria Smith's knowledge for while she's here? All right, we just love you. Thank you, Miss Maria.
Guys.
Okay, so we're going to go back to our screen share and everybody can see, hopefully. Let me go back here to play from current slide. Everybody with me? Can everybody see what we got going on here with the
Yeah, I
screen?
can see it.
Okay.
That mortgage class will be good.
What was that?
The mortgage
Yes, we
class.
can see it, but that mortgage class would be good.
Great. I'm going to add that to the end of the Top Gun series. If you could write that down for me. Maria, would you be a person to talk about the title process as well? Or I can bring a title person in to do that. Okay. So that was a suggestion from April. And I think that's always a great thing to understand how that title process works. So we can bring someone in to do that.
I can answer real minor questions.
Yeah. I don't like to bring a lot of people in, but maybe I'll bring Phil in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he does title. So, okay, wonderful. So moving up. Oh, that's weird. Hold on, guys. Sorry, we're having a little situation with my Apple Play. Entertainment room. That's weird. What is that into the password? Oh gosh, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I don't know. This may not work. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're back. Okay, fabulous. All right, so there's lots of great things happening with Sotheby's. And so I wanted to go over a couple of the things. Something about the recent press that we've had, our content marketing. They have this new, it's actually not that new. It's been going on since last year, Global Market Series, awesome, and significant sales. And some things that we can use for social. So one thing I want to show, and this is our content marketing. They have been putting this out every month. and they put it out ahead. So this is what Sotheby's as a brand is going to be focusing on for the month of January. Their story ideas will have everything to do with the second home markets that you may not have considered, right? And they'll tell you that's about their travel. So whenever they're dealing with travel, that's kind of the thought or the idea that they'll be using. And it's really to just get people engaged and sort of get them interested and intrigued. Then the design essentials, like different patterns and things that people are doing for the year. Also, appealing homes that may have you moving out of the city. So that's a great one because with COVID, so many people are, getting out of the cities and wanting more space and wanting to be away from other people. So they're jumping on that bandwagon. They want to get away from people. So there you go. And homes with charming in-law suites, which is another thing we're seeing.
Even
A lot
if
of
the in-laws
families.
aren't charming.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what would make the in-law suite charming is it's in the other part of the property.
Detached.
It's detached.
Okay.
And over the meadow through the woods. Okay.
Boundaries.
Okay, now we're going over to Cala. We're gonna get one of those big farms,
Yeah.
80
Hello,
acres.
Tasha. Hello, Tasha. Yeah.
Geneva.
Yeah.
Then they also talk about things that they want you to consider and what they were doing last year in social media. And last year, the whole focus was on families. And they talked about their top hashtags that they were using with families. So they did hashtag families and they really used the keywords, hey, Alejandro, kids rooms ideas, kids rooms decor. That's a great thing to start noticing because they know how to do the targeting. They're really good with geo-targeting. Sotheby's has an excellent social media. So if you can jump on what they're doing, guys, and use the hashtags that they're using, use the story ideas, you will get a larger following just based on the audience that they're appealing to. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That's why I love having people in the room because the silence from the Zoom is deafening.
Yeah.
So,
I keep taking screenshots of everything you show me.
okay. Yeah, well, this is an Access, guys. They pulled all this out of Access. Now, I don't know if anybody saw me posting last night in the middle of the night. That's how I like to do it. But this is the latest and the greatest from December. These are the headlines that we did. So Imagine Global $75 million estates hit Southampton, of course, by us. The Wall Street Journal shows our Silicon Valley at 33 million. It's also showing in the Wall Street Journal that late Kellner Perkins, co-founder of something, I couldn't read it that fast, it was super quick. Wall Street Journal, some of the prices are, you'll notice, especially with significant sales, sometimes they don't actually disclose the price, which is even more exciting, right? Like, what could this possibly be for this townhouse in New York City? But this is a great series that they put out for us to use. It's ready for Facebook, it's ready for Instagram, and it lets people know we are in the news. People are looking and talking about Sotheby's because Sotheby's owns the luxury market. And I challenge you to see any other company that has the type of voice that we have in any of these news sources. People just don't. We have over 35% of the voice. And the rest of that pie is shared by tons and tons of people. So it's really nice to see. And there's an infographic you can use also if you want to share that. I find that people get really confused with the infographic and they're like, that's a pretty pie chart, so I think that this is a lot more engaging. People like to see, oh, wow, 33 million, 75 million, they like that. But at the same token, every time you post something about Sotheby's, it will elevate you. Allow the brand and the connection with the brand and the connection with what people are doing in other markets to elevate you. And I want to share a brief little story on that. I got a call from a broker in South Carolina, in Celia Dunn Sotheby's. And he called me, he saw me off of either my website or what have you. And he said, left me a message. He said, I have this large customer I'm working with. I'm divulging all of this huge land holding and I have one parcel left. It's 80 acres. It's commercial. I don't know that you guys do commercial, but I am I'm sure like yourself, tried and true, bleed blue. We always want to stay with the brand. So even though I don't know if Sotheby's does commercial there, I wanted to start with you first. Which, by the way, we do commercial. So yay, that's a good one, right? But the key here is, guys, everybody I've ever talked to from any Sotheby's says the same thing. We all want to stay within the brand. Let's use that for our benefit. Let's create those connections. Let's make 2021 that connection within our brand, because that's what's going to help you grow. All right. So moving on. And exactly in that light, they have started this global market series. I'm going to play just a little bit.
Advisor of the Year,
Oh.
featuring Belgium. Happy to get started in a couple of minutes, just a few things. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, and make sure that your toolbar is set to panelists and attendees.
I'm scared to see if I can move ahead.
Nobody's perfect. And explain us how that country works.
Yes, with pleasure, David. Thank you very much for being here.
I know.
To talk to everyone.
This is so exciting. This is long. We're not playing the whole thing. It's 40 minutes.
Small country, as Natalie said.
But look at this. This is the stuff that we should be able to speak to. We're Sotheby's. We should know that Belgium has 3 languages and 3 regions, right? We should know that.
It was born and gained its independence.
They have
in
11 million and a half people.
It was.
That's a little country,
invaded by
right?
many of its neighbors.
So we're not
so-
going to listen to the whole thing. They talk about their marketing strategy there. They talk about who their buyers are, who their sellers are. They go through all of the type of homes that people look for, the way they purchase. This is stuff we should know, guys.
Look at Puerto Rico's.
Yep. So these are the ones that are coming. So January 21st, you've got Puerto Rico, then we have Bermuda, then we have Sri Lanka, then we have Cayman Islands, and then Barbados. And that only brings us to March. Plus, all of the ones from last year that when they started this have been pre-recorded. So you can go into Access, you can search under the, you hit the little hamburger thing, you search Global Markets with an S, because remember, if you don't type it exact, you won't find it. Series, you'll find it, bookmark it, do the star, and then you can always go back here and you can join in and jump in and register. And once you register, of course, you'll start getting the reminders. But this is great. And the great thing is if you're live, guys, you can chat with them. So now they start seeing your name, and then maybe you reach out to them after the meeting. And this is how we create connections. This is, yes, GNE is going to be virtual this year, but it doesn't mean that we can't still be creating connections in a very meaningful way, right? So if you took the time to learn about not only Belgium and the kinds of people and what they're looking for, but maybe we find here in our market, we have some similarities. Now we have a reason to reach out to say, hey, I noticed it was great on the Global Market Series. You guys had said, blah, blah, blah. Here in Orlando, we have something very similar, right?
Do they all speak English in these things?
Yes, yes.
And
Everybody,
have the best
they may
chocolate
have
ever.
cute accents, but everybody speaks English that comes on here. Yes. I can't say that all the agents in the offices, obviously worldwide, speak English, but for sure, if they're on here, they do. And so you could always reach out to, for example, the one who's speaking right now, Audrey, and she could even help you find an agent in an office. And that's what we want, right? It's one thing to look on the site and start just like searching for people on Facebook. It just takes a lot of time.
So
It's
who does
another-
this? Is that like
It's
the
put out by
broker?
Sotheby's International
But I mean,
Realty.
like, who is she?
No, she's actually in charge, I think, of all their marketing in
Okay.
Belgium. But they announce who everybody is. They have people who do different things. Sometimes they'll have the brokers from certain areas. Depends on how the country works. But what's nice is they introduce them, and now you can put a face to the name, and you know who you need to connect with, right? Because you could ask Alex, hey, who should I connect with in Belgium? And I don't think she's going to know that one, right? She doesn't deal with them on a regular basis. In the US, she's got you covered pretty much, right? But when we're talking about global, this is so amazing. And so I just think, I can't believe it took me a while to even find this series. I have to say, I'm ashamed to admit, of course, I was a little busy last year, but that I have not been jumping on these sooner. So I'm going to go back and watch some myself, but I'm definitely going to make sure I'm on the upcoming ones. And I highly recommend you guys do too. Any thoughts about that? Anybody want to share? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't. I'm actually intrigued. I took a picture on the launch.
Sweet. I love it. Me too. Okay. Oh, I'm playing it again. All right. The other thing, don't forget the great content they have already been doing. We have already been solidified through Inman, which is an amazing source, as the luxury leader. They have only chosen Sotheby's to partner with. Every Monday, we do a blog about the luxury market. No other, this is Inman. They're not related to Sotheby's, right? It's like when you get PR. For example, you have a home, Lou Holtz, Peter Lou's got Lou Holtz's home listed. Woo! Let's sell it. Okay, but the great thing was, because Lou Holtz is a former, famous football coach and motivational speaker, he was picked up by the LA Times, by all of these different news sources where they ran a story about it. It wasn't us putting an ad out, right? It's them talking about it. That is worth its weight in gold. Well, what do you think it's like having Inman showcasing that Sotheby's is the only company that has the luxury market knowledge? That's what they're doing, right? Every Monday. So if we're not taking advantage of and sharing that content, we're missing the boat on that one. And I don't know about you guys, but it's always important to add to that social media content calendar. So why not add? And you don't have to do the current one for Mondays. You could set it up in your, God, I can't even think of the system that I use all the time. Anybody? I can't even think of it. No, not my hub. No. Not Hootsuite. What do I use?
Boost.
Buffer.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm totally blank. Guys, it's been a long week. It's very tough to come back. I'm going to be very honest. I'm ready to go back on vacation. Yes, Buffer. And if you haven't done it, it's publish.buffer.com is the free one. But anyway, you could set up last week's Inman post to post on Monday. I think it's a good idea to post Mondays because it reminds people that it's always out there Monday. So if they happen to look themselves, they'll see it on a Monday. So why not piggyback on that? But you don't have to post the current one because that would be something you'd always have to be on top of, right? You could set it up to post last week's. It doesn't matter. But this is great. Look at this, how 3 agents have leveraged a referral network to sell homes. Guys, do we not talk about this every day? Do we not talk about this on every listing presentation? And now you have Inman saying that that's what we do and how it works. I mean, they're just singing our song for us, right? I mean, I think it's amazing. So these are the last 3, and they tell you the dates. Finding the perfect home for an unconventional client. Virtual tour success. This is great. We're in a virtual world. Sotheby's is totally focusing on virtual. We are setting ourselves apart when we go on these listing presentations, letting them know how much we are not only doing virtual, but how much we are getting success doing the virtual. And this one is saying how 4 agents use virtuals to make sales. I mean, this is great. And then get close up, ready, 7 keys to a successful virtual home tour. This is great content, all put out by Sotheby's, but most importantly, published by Inman. So please don't forget to use it. Again, you can get it right off of Access. You can bookmark it, favorite it, the Inman, and you'll always have the link so you don't have to have the subscription, and you can share it right to your page or to Buffer. Any questions? No. Okay, moving on. Now, one other thing I really want you to think about. I don't know how many of you guys have been really good about using hashtags. I mean, we talk about it a lot, but I really don't know how many people are consistent with their hashtags. Hashtags can be powerful, especially if they're being used by a brand, that has we're in over 70 different countries and territories. I mean, guys, this is being used all over the globe. And Circle the Globe is one of my favorites. That is when you're visiting in another location and you happen to go in front of a Sotheby's. Either you plan it or you don't plan it. I was in Pacific Sotheby's by accident. I said, pull over. I got to stop and take a picture. When we were in California. My husband's like, are you crazy? The answer is should not have been even asked. Of course he knows I'm crazy.
He knows better.
Been married for 23 years. I mean, come on. So anyway, but the key is you take a picture either in front or with somebody or however you want to do it. And you post it with hashtag Circle the Globe. Sotheby's International Realty, Circle the Globe. This is amazing for 2 things. Number one, it's great for other Sotheby's agents to get to know you, right? That is a great thing. You're building your network. And number 2, every time we talk about the fact that the greatest thing about Sotheby's is that we are international, that we're in 70 different countries and territories, that's great. But that we actually connect with our people there. We actually know and have the opportunity to interrelate with our colleagues in different places. This will reinforce that, right? Especially if you do it in a variety of places. So don't forget the power of Circle the Globe. It's awesome. So here are some of the other ones that they're using. Extraordinary property of the day. So 365 days a year, Sotheby's does an extraordinary property of the day. The cool thing is you could do your own property. You don't have to use the Sotheby's property. Use one of your listings or one of ours and use the same hashtag. Now it's going to get in front of the same audience that saw Sotheby's. right? Extraordinary property of the day. The Sir VOTW, video of the week. Guys, again, they're doing this every Wednesday, right? Well, if you're doing your own content, your own original content, why wouldn't you use the same hashtag, right? It's just going to broaden your horizon. Sir New Development. Let's say you're doing a tour of models. Maybe you're doing a Model Monday. Why would you not use this hashtag? Sir New Development, right? Sir New DEV. Perfect, right? And if you're on, when you go into Access and you click on marketing and you go to social media, they'll tell you more and give you more suggestions and show you links to how people are using these both on Instagram and Facebook. So you can click over and see these hashtags in action, which is great. Only Sotheby's Realty, that, remember, came out at the last G&E. So I am thinking, could be wrong, because before that, our marketing plan had been Live. Remember Live Sotheby's? And then it changed to only Sotheby's. You want to jump on this and use as much as you can about this. This is all about who we are and what we do and how it is exceptional defined. Talk about elevating yourself, by elevating the brand. So definitely jump on the bandwagon, because this one may not stay around very long. They may switch it. And then once they do, it doesn't have the same power, right? Not that we can't use only Sotheby's, but we always want to stay current with whatever they're doing. Then they have also Sotheby's Realty hashtag. Obviously you want to do that one. Probably many of us are doing that one, but they had some other suggestions that I thought were really cool based upon, what that property is, what you're posting about. Like, I love hashtag Music Monday. I loved that one. I totally thought of Budge. But that is a great one. Not only properties with music rooms, but maybe you're doing a piece about lifestyle here in Orlando and you're checking out the Blues Club, or why wouldn't you do hashtag music, do it on a Monday, right? But Music Monday. Hashtag Travel Tuesday. These are great. Wellness Wednesday. Staircase Friday. Well, that's a cool one. And Friday Reads. If you have beautiful libraries. I mean, I think these are fabulous. They have lots of other suggestions on there. But remember, when you are choosing the right hashtags, and I do have a website for that. Of course, I don't have it up. But it is important before you start using a hashtag to research it, because you have to see who else is using it and how they're using it. And I use this example all the time because it is a true one. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to be the expert at the View, and I'm going to only do penthouses downtown. If I did hashtag penthouse, I don't know that I want to be associated with what may come up in hashtag penthouse. That's not the kind of elevation we are looking for. Okay. So,
I work hard. Hashtag hustler.
Yeah. Hashtag hustler. Yeah. So the great news about this is Sotheby's has done a lot of that work for you. They've already come up with PG rated. Yeah.
We're on the same vibe.
Yeah. We've got a couple of hustlers in the room. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Yeah. Of course. That melting.
Here today.
You saw me. So, okay. Anyway, any thoughts, any questions? Anybody want to share anything about hashtags? No? Okay, fine. But use them, because it is great to help yourself get in a conversation through hashtags. Okay. All right. Sotheby's, Premier Sotheby's. We have, and this is why I don't have much information, because I have a lot of really exciting things that I know that you don't know, but we're going to share them. And so sadly, I have to let Budge do it. Darn it. On our kickoff event, which will be Zoom, 10 a.m. January 28th. So obviously we will not be doing our own training that particular Thursday. We'll be watching the Elevate, but we have so many exciting things. Just to give you a little heads up, as a management team, we have broken into groups, and we've done focus groups. And so we've been really focusing on bringing different things to you guys that we're really excited about. So you're seeing some of the things here: targeted marketing programs, automated email campaigns, concierge move services. I'm on that one. But this is some exciting stuff, development, engagement opportunities. We've got some really, really cool things. And we have Brad Nelson, who is the CMO of all of Sotheby's, joining us on that event. Those of you who didn't know, Brad Nelson used to work for Judy Green. Actually, when he first started in this industry, he worked in marketing for Judy Green. How cool is that? So it's just really cool to see him now at the obviously huge corporate level of being in charge, the chief marketing officer for all of Sotheby's International Realty. So because of that, he always says that Premier Sotheby's is near and dear to his heart. So he's come down to management events with us, and we get the inside scoop of what they're doing. It's really cool. So anyway, don't miss it. Make sure you register for it. Make sure you're on it. It's going to be awesome. And again, it's like killing me because I know all this really exciting stuff. I actually had an agent. I'm not going to say who it is. Is she on? I don't know. And she said, "Hey, Carrie, I heard they're doing." I'm like, "Who did you talk to? What manager is telling these?" Because I know nobody else knows. The good news was it wasn't me, and I feel good about that. So that's unusual. It's because I've been so busy. I'm not very good at secrets. Okay. So anyway, that's what's happening. So don't miss it. It's going to be awesome. Okay, we're gonna have a little fun though. So I've been doing, I'm very excited to say every Monday, 10 a.m. in Dr. Phillips, also via Zoom, we have been doing our Top Gun series, as we kind of alluded to when we talked about adding Maria. And so this particular Monday, we did as is versus far bar. And we were going through the nuances of what the two different contracts mean and what happens if you use one versus another. And, honestly, we had a lot of fun with that. So what I like about this class is it's engaging, and we ask questions and we talk, what do you think? What would happen if? So I decided to ask a question to you all. This is from the National Association of Realtors. It was on their page, but a release and cancellation of the contract. So here's the question. After 2 weeks of concession negotiations, the seller's agent changed the property in the MLS from pending to active. And they say, "I see an escrow dispute on the horizon. It's unethical and wrong to change the MLS without a release and cancellation of contract. Is that right?" I want some responses here. You could go in the chat room. You could say it out loud. I really like to hear it out loud. But what does everybody think? Does anybody think that, first of all, is it unethical to change it to back to active if you don't have a fully executed release and cancellation?
This is Joan. I say yes.
Okay, anyway, I love that. Thank you, Joan. I knew you'd jump in on that contract question.
It is definitely wrong.
Anybody? Alejandro's thinking.
No, I would say yes.
Carla says yes.
I literally had this conversation.
I say no. We say
What we're switching.
Okay, where's my chat? How did you see the chat? Is it on here?
It's on the bottom there.
Where?
And you still have like 2 people waiting.
Oh, I do? Good God. Oh, I'm like the worst. I'm terrible.
Well, one of them was Miranda.
Carrie,
Like,
let people in. I'm so terrible. Where's my chat though? I don't even see my chat box.
You
More
want mine?
chat. So sorry, here it is. Okay. April says yes. Carla says yes. Stacy says no. Lewis says no. Jen says yes. Carolyn says, I say yes. She's like sticking with it. Okay, guess what? No. The answer is no, it is not. But the answer that they give is it depends, because it's the legal team, right? What was that?
Benjamin Hill joined Sotheby's?
Hillman? Yes, he is. Of course he is.
Okay,
Yes.
We need to have coffee.
Okay, we're back to contract question.
Sorry. You added me to video.
I should have kept her out of the room. Dang it. Okay, the reality is the nuance of the question. Is it ethical or right to put it back pending if you do not have a fully executed release and cancellation? How many times do we have a situation where the buyer will send a release and cancellation and say they want the money? And we're like, hell no, they're out of the contract. They don't have financing contingency. And we'll send our own release and cancellation with the seller signing that they're keeping the money, right? Is that a fully executed release and cancellation? No. It's a dispute. And you are fine to put it on the MLS with that stated. Yeah, because both parties have agreed, and most importantly, the buyer, they're not going after that property, right? Now the dispute's not on the property. They don't want the property. They've sent you that release and cancellation. The dispute is now on whether or not who keeps the money, right? That's what the dispute's on. But it has no tie to the property. Now, just so you know, some title companies may disagree, and they have a right to do that. They can have their own policies and procedures. So in some instances, you may have to switch to a different title company. Although I've really not seen that happen very often. Most title companies understand, at least here in Florida, they're pretty hip to that. But that's what they're talking about. So the point is, if they sent you something, how often do they say, you're going to do this or we're going to cancel? Also, what NAR is saying is that you don't actually even have to send the fully executed release and cancellation. They can send an email or something in writing saying that they do not want the house, they're canceling their contract. And that would constitute the right to go ahead and cancel. So, if it's me, I really like the release and cancellation. Again, it doesn't have to be signed equally on the same piece of paper by both parties, but we want to make sure that everybody agrees they're not going after the property. That's the only thing we care about. So that was kind of a trick question, and that's why I did it.
You have to put something in MLS that it's in dispute?
Nope, MLS doesn't care. MLS goes right back on the market because it's not the property that's in dispute, it's the escrow. So obviously you notify the title company. Every title company has a different policy on how they handle dispute, which is why I always say before you work with the title company, ask them how they handle a dispute. Some of them are great, some of them are horrible. So you need to know that before you work with them. But the most important thing is for our sellers, and most of the time we're representing the sellers, right? We want to know that we can go ahead and put that property back active and not stop them from selling their property because the buyer doesn't want to, they want their money back when they have no right to because they're, against the contract. Let's let that get handled somewhere else. And let's get back to the part of hand of selling the property. Any questions about that? Anybody surprised on that?
Yes.
So, and discuss failure of additional escrow. Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, Cindy. It's true. If someone puts in a contract offer, I'm going to give $5,000 at the time, within say 3 days of the effective date. And maybe after 10 days of the effective date, because they're waiting for inspection period, I'm going to put in an additional 5,000. Well, if after the 10 days of inspection, after the effective date, they don't put down the 5,000, here's the question. Is that contract null and void? Anybody? Anybody in my room?
So you're out of contract, then it is null and void.
You are out of contract. You are out of contract because per contract, you said your deposit was going to be required after 10 days. So absolutely. So you are out of contract. It is true.
So
Now,
the first deposit gets held?
well, it depends on, do you still have a financing contingency? Like there's other, like I like to call them safety nets in there for the buyer. If it's the financing contingency, but the reality is they're in default because they did not put the additional deposits down.
So if they do it late,
Mm-hmm.
are they back in?
So
If
this
you
is
wanted
the
them to
thing.
be-
Let's talk about real life. Okay, that's the contract. What do we see in real life? Does this happen? Yeah, all the time. And just people go, I'm not looking till the money's there. Oh, the money's there, right? And so really, the reality of contracts is, are we involved in a contract? Please, are we involved in a residential contract? Anybody? Are we involved? Are we parties to the residential contract as is? Or...
No, it's between the buyer and the seller.
Miranda wins. Woo! Sorry, Jennifer. No, we are not party to that contract, which is why we do not even write our commission on it, because that's a code of ethics violation. We are not party to the contract. It is between buyers and sellers. So if the seller chooses to look the other way and the buyers are like, please, but if I'm representing the buyer, what am I going to do? I'm going to do an addendum, right? We're doing it. Hello, Mr. Peter. We're talking about contracts. I'm surprised you came in the room. Come back.
She was talking about your loopholes.
I did talk about that. Yeah. Okay. So, but the key is here, realistically, the whole point of a contract is for the buyer and seller to understand what is going to happen through the process, what each party is agreeing to, which is why I get so frustrated when I see blank lines. Because what does a blank mean? We don't know. Like, I see people missing, who's the one paying? Is it the seller who's going to be paying for the, the title, the cost of the owner's policy, or is it the buyer? Some people forget to put that down. And they just assume because they've chosen the title company of the seller that that's the case. It's not the case. It's not in the contract. So now we got to ask, well, what are we going to do here? Because really the seller could say, well, I didn't agree to pay for it. Even though you put it in my title company, I didn't agree to pay for that title, owner's policy. and the lender's policy. I didn't agree to that. So you got to be really careful. I have another question where legal has given me concern. Can't wait for the meeting topic. Excellent. Okay, so any questions on that though? It's very important that we understand, oops, I changed the page, what is ethical and what is right. You know, you might think, oh my gosh, it's not ethical to do that. That really doesn't make it ethical. Ethical has to do with, are we representing our customer in the best way? Right? It's not what we feel personally. You have to take yourself out of that, right? Now, where it is personal is the newest addition to the Code of Ethics about harassing speech. Has everybody seen that?
Yes.
Holy cow, lots going on about that. You can't talk about any type. It's not, in addition to fair housing, they also have sexual orientation that has been added. So people are concerned, you know, well, what can I say? What can I say? What if I say something? The point is, don't say something unless you're comfortable with your grandmother hearing it. Okay. Like if you're a realtor, just know what you're going to say. You know, if you have something good to say it. If you don't say anything at all. But I'm going to tell you, there's been a lot of flack already about that newest, latest and greatest Code of Ethics edition that happened in November. So just be aware of that. Obviously, none of us are going to be having any kind of crazy, nobody gets on your soapbox and starts screaming about things in social media. And let's not, right? Because remember, you'll always be wrong. If you pick a side, you're wrong because your customers may not pick your side. So why cut out 50% of the people, right? Why do that? So just keep that in mind, okay? So that's pretty much, if you constantly think like that, you'll be fine with the new Code of Ethics violation. All right. So is anybody going to the gala? So this is with Aura. Every year they do an inaugural gala where they bring in the new president. In this case, it's Natalie Arrowood, my dear friend. She's so sweet. And they bring in the new board of directors. And this year it's going to be different because they're talking about, this is Aura's huge anniversary year. You guys know that? So every month they're going to be doing spectacular things. They're going to give great opportunities for sharing things, but we are really focused on celebrating our realtors and the association for the entire year. So look out for that. Kind of keep in mind out of seeing what's going on with Aura. But for those of you who didn't feel comfortable going or are not going, we can live stream this. So this will be also live streamed, and it's on Saturday from 6 to 9. So if you want to participate and you were not going, you still can. So I just wanted to throw that out. But is anybody going? Is anybody? No, nobody in this room. Okay. So moving on. Any thoughts, any questions this far? No, I'm good. Sunstats. Woo! Everybody remember my favorite new thing? No. Okay. So Joan actually called me and she said, Carrie, you know, I'm trying to do this overview for these customers. They're trying to decide what area, what would be a good investment, what would be good pricing. What can I do? How can I come up with a report? The answer is Sunstats. Sunstats lets you run by geographic area, zip code, city, whatever. And you can either pull up all the data about that one area and it'll break it down by month. It'll tell you what's happening with average sales price, days on market. It'll tell you what's happening, active inventory, sold inventory. It'll tell you everything. Or you can do what I did, which is compare. And I love these charts. So for fun, because we're starting a new year, and I haven't done all of last year's synopsis yet, because we're still waiting for December's numbers to roll in, but in terms of, you know, as a market. But what I did do is I wanted to look at, and this goes through November, some of the information that they have, but they show you here, they break it down on the chart. I just did the picture one. I think this pictographic is awesome. I also want to recommend, if you're working with a customer and they're coming from out of town and they don't know an area, add this into a flip book. You can download these things, throw them into a flip book and send it over to them. Say, see, as you can see, this is what's happening in this market and this is what's happening in that market. Don't give them all the data because they'll be totally overwhelmed, but a little chart like that, I think is pretty benign. Like, everybody feel comfortable with that chart?
Was there an average sale in May?
I know. Yeah, there obviously was.
There's one house that sold for 40 million that changed everything.
Yes, well, or maybe two, right? But you know, that's a great point, Peter, to look at, know if you're sending this to somebody, then I would look at May 2020 and see what the heck happened in that particular zip code, which was 32836. What crazy sale happened that threw that off for the average sales price? It doesn't mean it was the highest price. It means it was the average sales price, right? So that could be based on price per square foot. It could be based on total volume. So you want to look at that. But that's also a great conversation starter. So thank you. Well, He thinks like a social media man. So you can see the average sales price. The blue one is the 32819 and the green is the 32836. But they've both had some volatility, more so in the 836. I'm thinking maybe some new construction stuff happened.
Well, either that or isn't that where on the lake there? On the
Well,
back
remember,
side?
this is from 2018. So there was still building going on. In
No, but
2026.
2020 for that big spike.
Yeah, I see.
Like a $5 million one on Millionaire Row.
Yes,
was
they did
832,
sell.
836.
Yeah, but I don't think 5 million would be enough in that zip code to throw it.
Can you like click on?
No,
that
not here.
somehow?
You would have to then go into MLS and delve in deeper. I didn't really do that. What I was doing this for was really to see that the average sales price, if you look at it from 2018 to now, is still up in 32836. But if you notice, it's down in 32819, which is interesting, right? And interesting. And 32836 is still above the other one, right? Now, when you look at new listings, obviously there's been a lot of volatility in the new listings, but it is significantly down in 32819, where we just saw that the average sales price is down. So what does that mean about that market? If the average sales price is a little down, right, compared to even 2018, and the inventory is way down, do we think that this year there could be a big change in 32819? If I'm looking at trends, I'm going to say that probably is about to start trending up, right? I mean, that's the good thing. Everything that goes down must come up, vice versa. So when I'm looking at this stuff, I'm trying to see what kind of trends are happening. So if I'm trying to pick a community that I might be farming, I might look at this data and say, where could there be a potential upside to this particular market, right? That's what I'm looking for. So that's kind of why I pulled that data. Here, I pulled Windermere versus Winter Garden. Interesting, right? Windermere's the blue. Their average sales price has been all over, and that's since 2018. So I found that very interesting. But you can see that Winter Garden has been pretty consistent, but is still going up. That is a very solid market. Windermere's all over the place, and there is a reason. You've got Isleworth, you've got, a KB community, you've got a bunch of stuff that throws all of that around. But with Winter Garden, there's been a lot of like-kind things. Not a lot of really, really high end, although there is a couple. But if I'm looking to say, I want to get into a new market, what might be a good market? I like a market that is consistently moving up. I like that. Sometimes you're looking for huge upside, but sometimes you're looking for consistency. Now, the new listings, though, interestingly enough, they're both following almost the exact same pattern, if you look at that. Is that crazy? Now, what I would say is I see a change in this as well, because the reason I see Windermere being so much higher, in my opinion, especially being from Windermere, the homes are older in Windermere, right? So it makes more sense that there's been a lot more people selling those homes. But I think in Winter Garden, where you had so much new construction, I'm starting to see a lot more turnover. A lot more turnover in the Summer Lake area, a lot more turnover in the areas where we've had new construction being built over the last few years, and now people are really taking their equity out. So if I'm thinking, I want to break into a new market, where could I potentially get some new listings? I'm probably going to look into Winter Garden personally, if that were me. Okay, Lake Nona. So interestingly enough, 32832 is kind of like the one side of the road, right? 32827 is like the other side of the road. I would say the big jump in the average sales price in the 32827 was probably, did they sell some great things in Lake Nona Golf and Country Club? Well, that's probably what you're seeing there, because that's really the market leader there. But notice how their average sales price has dropped pretty significantly in the last few months. Where 32832, yes, there's some volatility, but it's pretty consistent, and again is up from where it was in 2018. So if I'm looking for a market that has continued growth, of course, not as crazy growth, but growth, I like the 32832 to take a peek at, right? Again, new listings, interesting, 32832 far surpasses 827. Is that interesting? And look at that huge peak in May. Peter, did you hit 328? But interesting, right? Now, if you think about it, 32832, if you think about the age of those homes versus 827, would you say they're about equal? Or would you say that the 32832 was
32 is a lot.
is older? So interestingly enough, They had a huge climb, but they have had a massive decline too. So it's interesting.
So 32832 took a big hit in the bubble burst. Finally, with 32827 coming in with all the average price point, all the house values come back at 32832. So
They
people
can get
are
their money out.
moving out.
So finally, their equity is caught up.
Caught up.
Right.
Did everybody hear that? So Peter was sharing 32832 was hit more after the bubble, which is true because, like, for example, Eagle Creek had so many homes that sold 2006, 2004, 2006, and then all those people were upside down, right? Well, finally, with all of the 32827 values constantly rising, it helped to stabilize the 32832 market. So now they've been able to recoup that equity loss that they potentially had, and they can sell and make some money. Thank you for sharing. Very well said. Excellent. Okay. Claremont, average sales price. Guys, if I'm looking at a market and I'm going to say who has growth, look at that upside. I mean, we can see where they started, right? Maybe not where we want to be, but listen, that is significant climbing in their average sales price. So if I wanted to see a possible emerging market, I mean, at least emerging for Sotheby's, right? I like how it is moving. That is trending in a very good way. But the listings are trending in a downward motion, which is interesting. So does it say that we're having an inventory problem? Probably.
Yeah.
And I can tell you we are, because I know last time I pulled this, the smallest amount of listing inventory is in Claremont. So that's why you're seeing that the new listings are way down. I don't think it's that people necessarily don't want to sell, but I think people are waiting because they're also seeing that increase, and maybe they're waiting to really catch that wave.
Yeah.
So interesting. Somebody got to go first.
Can I ask a question about
Please.
Sun stats here? Would this be a good tool to utilize because the market is shifting so dramatically when we get into during the inspection period, those negotiations between buyer and seller where there might be questioning whether it's appraisal value that Maria spoke to earlier or transitions to show them a broader picture. Of course, things are uncertain, especially yesterday politically, all the news. Would something like this give us more solid footing to show in a visual picture what's happening?
So I love Miranda's question. If you guys couldn't hear her, I'll kind of recap. She basically said if she was in a situation where there's maybe a appraisal problem and there's a discrepancy about value between buyer and seller, would this be something to help give an idea of value? And I say absolutely. But remember, not everybody understands data. So you can't just show it and say, well, look, you can see the chart, right? You'd have to actually give an explanation as to what has been trending. And I would be more micro than macro, right? Because people might be like, well, yeah, sure, that might be all of Windermere, but look at Windermere, it's crazy, right? So I think it's, yes, yes. Yes, they have a lot of opportunity. So play on Sunstats, it's amazing. You can only compare though 4 different areas, geographic areas, and it could be again county, it could be by zip code, it could be, they have a lot of different ways to search that, but you can only go to 4. So in this particular chart, I did 2, and the next chart I did 4. So it's interesting. I did 3. Claremont, Windermere, Winter Garden. I was like, why is there 3 over there? But yes, you can. You can break it down by property type. I just did single family homes, but you can absolutely do that. And what I wanted to show is months of supply. So interesting. We saw the most volatile happens to have the most months of supply. Windermere has a higher month of supply than anybody else. So what would that tell us if we're going into a listing presentation and we see that there's more months of supply in Windermere? What would be a great thing to share with our seller? Okay, I'll tell you. You got one, Tony? Go ahead.
I was going to maybe the average days on market is a lot shorter.
Actually longer. Absolutely. Average days on market. This is when I would do a research, a really clear indication of what average days on market are looking like, because we want to set the right expectations. And if we have a more supply in Windermere than right down the road that goes to the same schools in Winter Garden, we got to let them know. Also, the price point is different in Windermere versus Winter Garden, right? So we have to set them up understanding that their days on market will probably be longer than what their neighbor who lives 2 communities down, who happens to be in Winter Garden, will be, right? And that's a really important thing, anybody who works that area, because it's such a weird blend of where Windermere is and where Winter Garden is. You know, you're Windermere, you're Winter Garden, you're Windermere, you're Winter Garden. It's very weird. So this is a great chart to see that. But again, it does show who has the lowest amount of months of supply of inventory. It is Claremont. Claremont is the absolute lowest month of inventory. So that was interesting to see. But again, to our point, Winter Garden does, and we could tell that because we see the average price climbing very steadily, but we also see the new listings are down. right? So it makes sense that their months of supply would be down. Okay, I compared both Dr. Phillips zip codes to both Lake Nona zip codes. And I thought that was an interesting comparison. Again, you can only do up to 4. It would have been fun to do you could do broader areas if you wanted to, but I just thought this was kind of cool to take a look at. And again, this is single family home months of supply. But as you can see, interestingly enough, as we were saying, 32836 here in Lake Nona, that's your Eagle Creek side of the road, their values have finally caught up. More people are selling, so they have more months of supply than anybody else. We need to prepare them if we're doing a listing presentation that the homes across the street are probably going to sell faster. And they can't think we're not doing our job if it doesn't. So this is a great chart to show them. Maybe you just use those 2 zip codes, but they need to understand it is a functionality of the market, right? And there is much more inventory, even though there's still an inventory, we still have an inventory problem, but you still have much more inventory at 32836 than you do in 32827. As you see, 32827 is almost the lowest one. The lower one is 32. Oh, wait a minute.
It's 32832.
32832. I just got backwards. So, all these zip codes are throwing me off. I really have to say Dr. Phillips, Lake Nona. But the point is, this is a very interesting chart. We know that obviously months of supply have been trending downward, and this is from 2019. But if you can also spread this out, you can do a 5-year study. You can pick by months. So that's another thing for you guys when you're playing with SunStats. You can really delve into this in a much more micro way by changing, the factors. How many time period are you looking at? Are you trying to see what's happened over since the crash? Or you're trying to say you can do that here? But I think what's really important to understand is everywhere we look in Orlando, it is still the true story. Inventory is way down. So what does that mean for us? We need to work harder to get those listings, right? We know that, but we also need to work smarter. So if we know that there's an area where we've seen a dichotomy, maybe a change in perhaps the average sales price, maybe we see a change in the fact that more people are coming from a specific area there, or there's something opening there that could potentially bring more jobs in. We need to take advantage of anything we can see in the market that no one else is talking about to get those listings. You know what I'm saying? We have to make a reason as to why they should sell. Because as you can see, everybody's bullish on the market. Everybody thinks it's going to be a great year this year, but we're still going to be fighting that uphill battle of low inventory. Any questions on that? You guys get anything out of that? Does it help at all? Does it help you with your listing presentations? Does it help you with your ideas of farming?
I would say
Very good. Is that accessible through MLS?
Florida Realtors. So it's sunstats.floridarealtors.org.
Cool.
I would say you would have to know the demographics and why the difference between 3827, 3832 inventory is so different as well.
Absolutely.
Because the inventory level on 3832 is low because there's rarely any CDDs on this side of the road. Like no. So you have the demographics of people who work in the hospital industry that can't afford the extra CDD taxes. So you got to understand. So when you talk to your seller, you show them 2 charts like this. You have to understand why it's that way. They're gonna ask you. I don't want to pretend I don't know what I'm talking about, so I don't bring any stats that I don't know how to clarify with the seller. So they're gonna ask you, or I answer all the questions before the listing happens. So make sure if you are bringing stats, know why they're, because they ask you and you don't answer correctly, they're not gonna hire you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excellent. Did everybody hear Peter? Could you guys hear him? Anybody?
No.
Oh, so basically he was saying, if you're going to come into a listing presentation with a chart, something similar to this, you better understand the demographics and why whatever you're trying to show them is happening. You better have an explanation. You can't just say, see, you can see average months of supply are down, or you can say, well, you can see there's a big difference in the months of supply on one side of the road versus another side of the road. And he was saying that in the 32832 side of the road, there is no CDDs, whereas on the 32827 side, there's CDDs. So it's a different demographic who can afford the CDDs. And it's true. So you have a lot more people who work in the hospitals and such on the right side of the road. So if you can't explain why they're seeing the phenomena they're seeing, you might not want to bring a chart because they're going to ask you. So absolutely. Great point. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. But these charts really can help you start a conversation and really help you with pricing. That's what I think. I think they're great for pricing and great for setting expectations.
Yeah, especially if you get a military person because they think lies, damn lies, and then their stats.
Yeah. So yeah, true. So again, you don't want to blow people away with tons and tons of numbers every month. This is what happened. You want to give them an overall picture. And this is great stuff to share, by the way, on social media. But you better understand the nuance of the why and why they should care and why it can relate to them and how it happens, because that's how you start a conversation. And then you can always end with a question. Is this happening in your neighborhood? Or what did you see in your neighborhood? Get some engagement off of this stuff. People are really always interested in the market. You know, I mean, if people know you're a realtor, what's the first thing they ask you? How's the market? Like you ask it out all the time. So the more that you can be knowledgeable, and this kind of a data can help you be knowledgeable. But again, it's important not just to see the trends, to go back into the MLS and really delve in a little bit more and understand why and how it affects things, right? All the data is there. People can see data. We need to be able to explain why it matters and how it can affect them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your OA corners, we still have problems where people are not submitting their contracts for review. Remember, just because you put it in .loop doesn't mean we know it's there. So you actually have to hit the button, submit for review. Then all the OAs, Cindy, Jen, Caroline, myself, we all get notified about it. But if you don't hit submit for review and you have a change, maybe there's a price change, maybe there's a closing date change, you have to put it in a new folder and hit submit for review, because we don't know. We don't know unless you've told us or you've emailed us, you let us know. We have no idea. So make sure you're starting to use that submit for review, and don't put it into a file that's already approved. Add a new folder and hit submit review on that folder. It doesn't matter what the folder is called, additional information, changes, I don't care. But we don't want to, because if you put it in a folder that was already approved, we're totally confused. We're like, what changed in that? I don't know. We already approved that, right? So just make sure you're doing that. Also, if you want to pen to property, we have to have that CCC filled out, because that tells us the information we need to put in the MLS. It also tells us the information we have to tell accounting so they can prepare the DA so you can get paid. So we have to make sure that that CCC is filled in before we pen, because that's how we know how to pen this. We know, all the information. And we also have to make sure, was there a referral, right? If there's a referral, we have to know that, because we may have to chase down and run and get a W-9 and all that kind of stuff. So it helps us to be prepared, so that way by closing time, you actually can get paid and we're not chasing things at the end. So that's important. Also, please don't archive your closed listings and sales. You can archive a folder like a dead file. I don't care, like a dead offer, because we have to maintain those files just like anything else for 5 years. But don't archive the entire loop, because sometimes we might need to get in there and then we can't find it either, because we have it set to not search archived loops. So please don't be archiving any folders. You can any loops themselves. You can archive, again, a junk folder in your, I don't really care, throw it at the bottom, archive, but not the loop itself. Everybody good on that? Yay. Okay. December stats. Woo! This is some exciting stuff. You guys ready? Okay. We have had some excitement to end the year with, and I'm late. Sorry. Okay. Claremont. In December, they did 1.1 million in listings. Dawn and Kieran. Their sales, Dawn's at $1 million, and Dawn and Val closed 5.7 million. They had a happy Christmas, didn't they? Woo! In Winter Garden, in December, they closed $1.8 million. It was John and Joe. Good job. And they wrote 3.1. So they're starting the year out strong. All right. In Lake Nona and Ocala, we as a team, you guys have killed it. In December, wrote $9.2 million of listings, even though the inventory is incredibly low. And that is Tatiana, Luciana, Rainey, Ashley, Shane, Tasha, Mike, Wendy, Peter, Martin, Jennifer, Seda, Joan, and Priscilla. Woo! You closed, which means you got paid on $13.7 million. Woo! So who had a Merry Christmas? It was Mike, Peter, Kim, Joan, Tasha, Shane, Rainey, Anita, Miranda, Fran and Alex, Tatiana, Luciana, Kristen, and Wendy. Woo! So we know who went on vacation, right? And in December, we prepared for this year. We are starting the year out strong with 14.2 million in sales. Woohoo! That is Louis and Jaisa, Fran and Alex, Peter, Kim, Martin and Jennifer, Shane, Jeannie Green, Miranda, Tasha, Ria, Ria Childs, Ashley Cunningham, Dawn, Tatiana, Luciana, Maraima Hernandez. Woohoo! That's some exciting stuff, guys. Okay, you ready? Drum roll, please. You're not gonna believe this. When you see this, you're gonna like, what? In Dr. Phillips. I know you're all jumping to the end number, but I actually called Cindy. I'm like, is this number wrong? So December, we wrote brand new listings of $14.3 million. Great job. That's Bruno and Susie, Janice and Janet, Daniela and Marcelo, Chris and Julie, Maria Quintero, Teresa, Lynn Liu, Ash Sharma, Jules Canero, Robin Bocuse, Pippa Murray, and Tammy Schuster. Woohoo! And they had a Merry Christmas because they were closed $15.9 million. Who was on vacation? It was Luce and Ash and Bruno and Susie and Carolyn and Carla and Janet and Elsie, Kelly Thompson, Pippa, Janice and Janet, Julie and Chris, Gordon was even out of the country. Must have been a good closing. Tammy, Tracy, Maria Quintero, Linda Fu, Lynn Liu, Jaime, Gary, Jules, Carrie, and Jen Harnett. Woo-hoo! And yes, we have all looked at it. Yep, look again. I see Lewis moving in. Is that possibly what I'm seeing? $42.8 million. And that is new business of December. So that means it carries into January for a happy closings. So congratulations to Janet and Janice, Kelly and April, Carrie, Ash, Julie and Chris, Gordon, Teresa, Sharon Brandt, Tammy Schuster, Maria Quintero, Tracy Nitzy, Kelly, Gary, Raj. Definitely congratulations to Raj. I know there's a big one in there. Jules, Carolyn Vanderzijden, Bruno, Susie, Jaime, Kelly Thompson, and Robin. Woo! Guys, seriously, was I not kidding? That is an amazing end of the year. So I want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for all of the hard work that you're consistently doing. I see you out there working hard. I am here for you. I am here with you. We as a company are here to support you. 2021 is going to be amazing. And we are here to help you achieve every goal that you want to. So reach out, set an appointment, come see me. And I will look forward to seeing you again, hopefully on Monday at 10. So woo! Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks, Carrie.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.